All right, this is going to be I'm just going to tell you right now. I don't even know what's going to happen, especially when you have someone like Garrett White on your podcast. But I'm going to tell you right now. I'm just going to manifest. I'm going to foreshadow. This is going to be one of my favorite episodes that has ever happened on the Final Percent podcast. This man is a man amongst men. He's a leader of movements. He's a starter of movements. He's a catalyst of change. And I have had the honor and privilege to get to know him behind the scenes because he trusted me to get on the Man in the Arena tour in front of the scenes. And every single interaction, we've just gotten more and more aligned. We realize that we are cut from the same cloth. And, in the words of the great Garrett White, he said, we are going to do things at biblical proportions because we do it for the right reasons. We do it for the souls of men. We do care about Christ. And I have the honor and privilege to introduce Garrett White on my podcast. How are you doing, brother?
Bro, I'm doing fantastic. And what I'm trying to figure out is how in the world you've built such massive upper pecs.
I'm just
bro, I'm fucking jealous. I'm like, I'm watching you in your Jeep with your top off rolling, and I'm like, your shirt's off. I'm like, fucking upper chest canyon. I gotta get me some upper chest canyon. It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. I work out with a lot of friends because right now I'm 195, 5% body fat, and my buddy, he's like 240, and he was saying the same thing, and he's like, dude, I know I'm taller, but I'm telling you, when you flex in the picture and I flex in the picture, even though I've got you by like 45 pounds, it looks completely different. And I was just like, bro, genetics are a very real thing. So it's a thing. But I will tell you, for anyone who's watching this on YouTube, because we are going to talk to the men. If you want to know, you do an incline, you press out, but I call it the flex. So you press and then you come in like this. So I literally will get cables and I just do this, and I'll just do that, 10 sets of those like every chest day. And that's how I start everything out. So you do the normal press and then you come in like it's a fly at the very end, but you're on an incline. You're going to have pecs that you didn't know could exist. When I started doing that, everything changed. So there's the little secret sauce.
I've always wanted to start getting some lower pecs because I was working out with Coach Carter, who's part of the Mount Arena tour with us. He's been my bodybuilding coach for 2 years, but I was training with him virtually until the last 5 months. So he would just send me the workouts and macros and do my meal prep and etc. And then I came to Miami, where he lives in Fort Lauderdale, and we started training every day. Dude, I was literally lifting wrong on 90% of the movements wrong. And I could never build chest because I would always roll and go front. And so my front delts were big, my back delts were small, my chest, I never really got a pump. So I've been coming along. I'm gonna get this upper chest thing figured out though.
It's funny, and I think actually I love I've actually started doing it too. I post a quick recap of whatever workout I did now every single day to my story. And I like how you have this body principle. Like, look, it starts with what you can control. But the same thing is like when I really started doing the work on understanding the mechanics of the body, understanding how to take my life to the next level in fitness. Again, I was lifting like 90% wrong, where I was activating things in my body that I like. It's like, how come when I'm doing a chest movement, my lower back is cramping up? Like something has gone wrong. Yeah. And so our life is the same way. Like, I think a lot of these men, when they interface with their wives or their kids or their businesses, their employees, what happens is they think they're doing a press, but their lower back is cramping up. And you can substitute that to, they think they're running their business, but they're messing up their marriage. They think they've got their marriage, but their cash flow is messed up. And they don't understand how interconnected all of this stuff really is. And I think that, you really got to my heart when we were talking about the Man in the Arena tour. He said, we're on this call, and Garrett's talking to me. He says, when we're doing our lead gen and we're trying to help these men, we're finding that men are lost, they're scared, and alone. And when you said that to me, I was like, that's what we talk about at our men's group. That's what, when people finally get out of the confines of, you got to beat your chest, and you got to, like, at these conferences, 90% of the people are just lying. Oh, I've got 4,000 doors. Oh, I did $10 million last month. Oh, I did this. It's just lies. And then what happens is the people who actually can do something with you, you just told them that you make $10 million or whatever. They come to you with a $10 million opportunity, but you got $10 in the bank. And now you just blew up the relationship because you're not who you say you are. And you can't follow through the way that you say. And this is a thing that's running rampant. So when we get these men alone, they're able to raise their hand and be like, guys, I spent my last $10 to be here with you and I need help. And getting men to realize that I say this all the time, you got two hands for a reason. One to say, I can help, and one to say, I need help. And getting men to recognize and realize and understand that, hey, you're in a place where you can finally raise your hand and say, help. I don't know where to go. I don't know my next move. I don't know what to do. I don't know this. I don't know that. But every time you get one of them, those men who raise their hand and say, hey, I need help, that man can help someone out there. And we have this thing, this crap that's happening in America where we're ripping men apart. You have to be just this hyper woke person that can't be masculine in any capacity or you get attacked, or you can only be masculine. You need both. It's like I always tell people, well, would you rather breathe in or out?
Yeah.
No, you need both. Like you got to smash these things together. Vulnerability is a superpower, but guess what? So is being a fucking weapon. Like you walking into a room and this is the big thing when I said, "Hey, I'm going to change how I look, how I act, how I operate, who I am." Is I was watching this thing and it said it was a case study with the FBI, and I do a lot of mindset coaching with the FBI, the CIA, lots of the military, the ATF. I do a lot of that stuff, and they're talking about profiling somebody who would kidnap kids and abuse them or kill them, whatever it was. They said, we want to profile you so we know how to stop the next person who's like you. We want to profile you. So was it older kids, younger kids, male kids, female kids, rich kids, poor kids? What was it? And he looked at him and he said, I didn't care. I looked at the father, and if I identified the father as a potential threat, I left that kid alone because I don't want to deal with a pissed off dad. And that in that moment, I said, I am a threat from now on to anybody who wants to mess with my kids. If I'm going to walk into a room and you have that eye on my kid, you're going to look at me and go, I got to go somewhere else because that's not the dude I want to deal with. But I'm also able to love and cherish and honor my wife. Those two men can exist in the same body.
Most men are not that.
Yep.
Most men walk around, it doesn't matter where I travel in the world either. Most men are not a threat.
Yep.
Like they're not a threat at all. And then they wonder why things aren't working in their sex life. They wonder why their wife doesn't want them. They wonder why their wife doesn't feel safe. They wonder why their kids don't feel safe. And it's not just like being a physical presence, like it's an energy, it's a tone too. Because I've been around plenty of bodybuilders who have the body and they have no fucking courage. They're just total. They have no true fierceness inside of who they are as a man. And that fierceness itself gets dumbed down as we lie. Like and this is why the lying happens at all the real estate conferences and the money conferences, and the guys are making up bullshit and they're telling this story. I mean, I've watched guys even come in my programs where I will see them online. One of them was online with the kid that does the little interview. Hey, how did you get rich?
Yeah.
The real School of Hard Knocks or whatever his little podcast he does. And by the way, I found out everybody pays to be on that thing. I didn't know that. So yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, well, I found that out. It's like $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 now to be on it. And then he comes up and randomly interviews you. So
randomly, yes.
Randomly walks up to you and interviews you for 20 grand, which is great business for him. Smart kid. But one of my guys had literally made the comment, he said, what's most of my money ever made? And he said 40 million in a year. I knew this was total bullshit. He never made $40 million. Because he was the same guy. And that went live. And then it was like, I think 4 or 5 months later after that went live. And this is the same dude who's like literally his struggle on his tuition with our program, business is imploding. And I'm like, bro, this is what we're fucking talking about.
Yeah.
Like you create a perception of what you think the world wants you to be. You create a perception of what you wish you were. You create this fantasy for yourself about what you are but you can't ground yourself in the truth of what you actually are. So you never have a chance to ever go to these places because you're
Yeah.
constantly lying about what you actually are. You're trapped in this illusion.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying. I mean, it's where I was. I was trapped there too after I'd lost my first round of companies and from 2000 to 2008 in mortgages. I'd built what for me was a sizable empire at that time. I'd come from nothing. I grew up in a trailer. Did my parents literally I was cornbread and powdered milk. These were like our staple foods. Like I didn't know it. I didn't know anyone who had real milk.
Yeah.
I didn't
Wow.
even know what real milk was until I was like 14, 15 years old. We were at my grandma's and we called it sugar milk because we were so used to this watered milk that you could mix up.
Wow.
No clue, right? So I get into money, then lose everything. And when I go through that process of losing, lost my entire identity and had no idea how to tell the truth. I'd become so good at lying.
Yeah.
And what was underneath all that I didn't know was there was a deep sense of unworthiness for anything I created. Like it didn't matter. It didn't matter. I got into ultra running. I was like 175 pounds running ultras during 2009 and 10. And I
Wow.
go out on training runs running 33 miles, 34 miles, training for this race that I'd read about. Like they do the relay races, but there was this guy, Dean Karnazes, who had written a book called The Ultra Marathon Man. And I'd finished doing Ironmans for 3 years in the World Championships in '07, got bored, and then got into ultras. And he did this race where he did a team race by himself. So instead of 12 people running like 180 miles, he ran the whole 180 miles by himself. It was called Team Speed. And
Oh
I was
my
like, this is
God.
fucking crazy. I'm going to try that. So I started getting into ultras. I started running further and further and further. But I get done with a training run like 32 miles. Like that's beyond marathon into the baseline of beginning ultra marathon. But that was a training day for me. And then I'd be with people in the afternoon and go, man, how far did you run today? I'd be like, 37. Like the people I'm talking to couldn't comprehend 32 fucking miles as a training run, but I still couldn't ever feel satisfied or good about
Yeah.
anything I did.
Yeah.
So I committed lies all the time. If I made 300,000, I would say I made 350,000. If I had sex once in 2 weeks, I would say I had sex only once in 3 weeks. It was like it didn't really matter where it was because no matter what was happening, there was always this unworthiness in me.
Interesting. Wow.
And I don't know where it came from. I don't even know how it was born in me, but it was a perpetual deal. And for most of the guys we've led, there's a place where they commit lies to themselves, to the world, driven fundamentally by an embarrassment of what truth is.
Yeah.
The second lie that was wild to me, though, is the bigger one, which is not lies that we commit, but the lies that we omit.
Oh yeah.
And this is all the shit that we don't say. And this is all the shit the guys don't tell their wives. This is all stuff they don't tell the world, and they don't even acknowledge it to themselves. They just stuff it.
Yeah.
I mean, what have you found with guys? I mean, your guys lie. My guys lie. I've lied. I lie. There's like, it's better now than it's ever been, but there's still a perpetual tuning to keep things in at times, not often,
Yeah.
but at times. What do you find at the core when guys start getting to truth? What starts happening for them?
I mean, it truly is setting them free. We actually, so I do things a lot like Tony Robbins, where we'll pull people out of the crowd. We did this at my last event like 5 days ago, and pulled up a police officer. He starts talking. We get into the fact that he's had suicidal thoughts, and he's going to like I don't know what to do, and this pops up, and it gets really really emotional really fast. And I said, give me 1 second. This is in front of our whole event. And I said, really quick, I need you to understand something. I said, do I have any, and I said specifically, not anybody who's suicidal, but do I have any specific men, any brothers that are willing to stand up right now and say, I am either having or I've had suicidal thoughts. Would you be willing to stand up right now so this man knows that he's not alone? And there's probably 40 men that stood up, and he looked around and he just broke down, realizing number one, he's not alone. Number two, he has now people to talk to. And I said, hey, when we get off this stage and after I get done working with him, if you were a man that stood up, I want you to get this man's number, and I want you guys to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder, and I want you to be able to lock arms in those moments. But the biggest thing is, and that's why, like, when we were talking about why does the Man in the Arena tour exist, and you said, look, men are lonely and lost, and the biggest thing that we can do is give these men a community to where when those dark times happen, they have somebody who can throw them a freaking flashlight. And when you go through that, and especially, you know, my intro into personal growth, my at the time when he was 11 years old, my 11-year-old nephew was in the Aurora theater shooting. And so at 11, he saw a 3-year-old girl, which is the same age as my son, which is just wild to think about, with her head blown off. And he became suicidal. And when he was 14, I took him in and pulled him away from his living situation. I said, look, I got your back, because he tried to commit suicide, not suicidal thoughts. He tried to commit suicide 3 separate times. And that was my foray into, I said, I have got to be there for men. I've got to be there in personal growth. I've got to be a lifeline. Someone's got to stand in the gap, because what therapy was trying to teach him and what other people were saying about him was only driving him to finish the job. And he needed somebody to come stand shoulder to shoulder with him. And now he just bought his first house. He's head of my media department. And you would literally never guess that this is part of his story. But he's one of the strongest men that I know. And when you have people come alongside you and say, look, I'm not going to do it for you, but I want you to know I see you. I'm here. I love you. I've got your back. Kind of like what David Goggins says when he's like, you got to find your foxhole people. Well, to find your foxhole people, that means you've got to get vulnerable, and you got to be like, hey, just so you know, I've been lying this whole time. My freaking, Ferrari out there, I've been struggling to make the lease payment. My house, I don't actually own that house. I've been renting it, and I have 16 roommates. Whatever you've got to say, just come clean, and then let's just go get to work. Let's build the life that you've always wanted. But you have got to, and kind of like I was saying when we did the Man in the Arena webinar, you've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror and stop. I have this saying, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am. So we're constantly walking into rooms going, oh, who does Garrett White think I am? Oh, he thinks I'm super successful. He thinks I'm this. He thinks I'm this. So I got to go put on this fucking mask, and I've got to be this person that I think that Garrett thinks I am. But if I climb into Garrett's brain on what he thinks about Greg, Garrett's going, do I want a ham sandwich today or a turkey sandwich? He doesn't fucking care. He just wants me to be me anytime I interface with him. He's not thinking all of that. So just show up as a genuine human being and stop lying. But it starts with, you got to stop lying to yourself. Like if you say, hey, I'm going to set my alarm clock for 5, 6, 10 o'clock, 1 in the afternoon, I don't give a shit when it is. Whatever your schedule is, and you have to get up at a certain time and you make that commitment, just get out of bed. Like the snooze button is like one of the most evil things ever invented. Like get out of bed and start attacking the day. Get out of bed and say, look, I'm going to own this day. And that's the biggest thing, is when we have men that are held accountable. I had one of the people in my men's group, he's going, oh my God, Greg, you've transformed so much. You've done this, you've done this. I said, yeah, I have. It's been hard. Like I have. He's like, I want to do that. I said, okay, do this, and this. He was on Instagram, and he did a daddy-daughter date, and I see a bunch of fries on his plate. And I messaged him. I said, why the fuck are you eating fries? I thought you wanted to change. I thought you wanted to do this. He goes, well, like, I mean, I'm out with my daughter. And, I said, your daughter doesn't care whether or not you eat fries. Your daughter cares that dad's in front of her. And if you stop eating fries, you're not only going to look better, you're going to show her what discipline looks like. And you're going to add years onto your life because you're not going to be so fat. And then he made one more slip up. And I said, dude, you're either going to take this seriously or I'm going to stop communicating with you. Do you want me to stop holding you accountable because you cannot do what you're telling me you want? From that time, he not only now doesn't eat fries, he doesn't eat any fried food, and he looks like a different human being. He's got like the pipeline down his arm. And he goes, Greg, I didn't even know I had that. I thought that was only for other people. I said, bro, you're doing the work. I'm so proud of you. And with tears in his eyes, he gives me a big hug. And he tells me, he says, my wife has been begging me for sex. My wife has been begging me to increase our sex life, but I realized it was me who was ashamed, and I wasn't doing it because I wasn't the man that I knew that she wanted. And they are completely different people. And it is so amazing. And now he's helping other people do it. And that's what happens. There's this catalyst effect. When you stop being the warning and you start being an example of a man, other men go, I could probably do that. But the
Mm-hmm.
problem is, are you willing to be held accountable? That's the thing that, you get into these different things. And like, I'll tell people after I'm hard on them a few times, I'm like, do you want me to stop? Because you asked for this. Like, I'm not the easy button. I'm the easier button. So it's going to be easier than if you do it by yourself, but I'm going to be really direct. And I'm like, I'm like 10 grit sandpaper, especially if you're rough around the edges. I'm going to knock a lot of this stuff off quickly and then we'll smooth it out. But you got to be willing to do the work. And when men get around men who operate at a high level, that's the expectation. That's the standard. Like, you and I are never going to have to wonder, are we going to show up on time? Are we going to show up for each other? Are we going to do this? Are we going to do it? No, of course we are. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
many times did we have to confirm X? No, we knew that we were doing this podcast. We know we're executing Man in the Arena, which is actually a question that, I think a lot of people are going to have for you, because anybody who's ever put on an event,
Mm-hmm.
like, events are hard. Like,
Yep.
events with 100 people are hard. Events with 200 people are hard. I just did an event with just shy of 200 people, and it cost me just shy of $100,000 at the Gaylord. And there's a lot of production. There's a lot of things that go in it. So now let's go to what Garrett's doing. I'm going to rent out an arena, and I'm going to put 7,000 people in a room when it's not like you're doing it for the money, because the money's going an opposite direction if you were trying to make money, because you're like, look, I'm called to do this. God said do this, and I'm just obedient. Help me understand this idea of the Man in the Arena tour, because from a business standpoint, I think a lot of people would be like, bro, don't do this.
Well, listen, there's a reason why we went to hybrid events and the reason why we kept things tight for so long, because we had done both types of events over the years at Wake Up Warrior. We had done small, tight knit events with 15 to 30 guys, boot camp experiences. We had masterminds with a couple hundred guys in them, upwards of 300. And we always did internal stuff. So it wasn't just Man Arena Tour wasn't just a break from things we had done. We'd done events with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 guys before, but it was all internal, all just Warrior. There was no collaboration. There was just our tribe. That's it. Just
Yeah.
my guys, my trainers, our world, all black, Warrior t-shirts, no outside speakers, no collaborating speakers, no keynote speakers, no come tell me your story in your book launch.
Yeah.
Nobody. So when we had gone away even from big events because of just how intense they were, like to put on, but we knew the impact of what they were because we'd done 6 or 7 of them from 2017, 18, 19, even up into 22, 20, 21, and 22, even during COVID. And when we were doing these, like the impact of putting this many men together in one room is something different than just 200 guys or different than
Yeah.
20 guys. There's an intensity to the experience that allows for guys who may be more afraid in a smaller environment to participate because they feel like Greg's going to process a shit out of them, Garrett's going to process a shit out of them, and they're going to be exposed, which is totally the case with 100 guys in them. Everybody's getting open. But we also
100%.
in a large group how to open that dynamic.
Yeah.
So when I moved to Miami last fall in 2024 or 2024, I'm in Orange County, California. I live in a beautiful home, $24 million house. I got the supercars. I got my training facility. I got my hybrid training facility. I got my clients. I got my teams. I got everything. Everything's 3 minutes from my house. My office is 3 minutes from my house. The gym is 3 minutes from my house. The beach is literally in front of my house. Like I don't have to go anywhere. I don't do traffic. People are like, LA, traffic's so bad. I was like, we fuck LA. We don't go to LA. We just stay in Orange County, Dana Point, in the Strand, within 3 miles of my house. That's where I
Oh, I
lived.
love it.
Every one of my clients came to me. We had stopped doing big events outside because of just how heavy it is to lift.
Yeah.
So when we get the call from God to move to Miami last fall, it was an instant decision. I said, we're going. And I got three specific insights that God gave me personally about the move. Because I said, okay, I'm going. And then I'm like, why? He said, one, I'm moving to Miami to protect you. This is clear with some of the bullshit sexual harassment and bullshit lie lawsuits that are currently being filed against me from the state of California. You could only get away with it in California.
Yeah.
These lawsuits would have no fucking grounding because there is no facts, there is no truth, there is no evidence to anything they're saying. But in California, you could say whatever the fuck you want. It's
Yeah.
what the employee cannot show up to work for 3 weeks and has, I'm feeling sniffly, I'm feeling this. You can't fire them. Like California just has real fucked up rules. So I was like, okay, so that's one of the things. I got that. Move me out of California to protect me. Here was the second part though, which was unify the kings.
Yeah.
This was the charge. Unify the kings. I've been in the man space longer than anyone I know, aggressively in the middle, which is where you're at,
Yeah.
which is why we get along so well. When I say the middle, there's a whole bunch of people right now in the world of man who've gotten very excited about helping men. They are broadcasters. And these broadcasters broadcast about men. They have opinions about the state of man. They voice their opinion about the state of man, but they don't get bloody with men. These are the broadcasters. They're great.
Yeah.
They're bringing awareness. Then
Yeah.
you have the dudes at the top of the food chain.
Mm-hmm.
Dudes who are very established in money, very established in the game. And then there's guys that want to help those guys.
Yeah.
And then there's the broadcasters that want to broadcast to everybody. The challenge is the broadcasters wake dudes up.
Yeah.
And then those dudes from the distance of waking up at the bottom have to cross the voyage in the middle. They got to leave Egypt. The broadcasters get them to start leaving Egypt. Then they have no guidance into the desert, no guidance through the Red Sea, no guidance to the promised land. They just want to go to the promised land the broadcasters told them about.
Yep.
And then enter stage left, Dr. Greg Kimball, interstage left, Raul Facilis, the interstage left, Kyle Carnahan, interstage left, Garrett J. White, which are men who have been called as prophets, if you will, in the middle.
Yeah.
It's fucking heavy as fuck in the middle.
Yes.
Let's leave Egypt, broadcasters. And then you got your waiting group sitting in the promised land. Welcome to the promised land.
Yeah.
And then you have the 40 years of fucking chaos, walking up the mountain to the burning bush, coming down, and your people are fucking all of each other. They're bitching and moaning about not having food and water and telling you they want to go back to slavery in Egypt. And we're managing the middle going, hey, let's go. We got to go. They're going to kill us if you don't go. We have to move. 1 million people in Moses had to move. Move, women, children, old people. Move, animals, move. They are hunting us down. They're going to kill us.
Yeah.
We got to go. So that people get upset with people who manage the middle.
Yep.
Which Man in the Arena is about. Man in the Arena is not about a broadcast. It's about managing the middle of man, which is the ability to actually cause men to rise in waking up. But here's the second piece, which is staying awake.
Yes.
I don't care. The reason why me and Greg's social media has not got millions of people, because we're not called to the masses.
No.
We're called to the kings who are trying to get to the promised land.
Yeah.
Which means the game is totally different. It's more vicious. It's more savage. It's more dark. It's more intense. It's more demonic. It's more pressure. It's more long nights where we wake up and neither one of us are worried about ourselves.
Nope.
We're watching our men trying to run back to Egypt.
Exactly.
You're like, what the fuck are you guys doing? I leave you alone for 10 minutes. And now you're fucking the cows and you're trying to run back to Egypt. Stop fucking the cows. We're going to eat those. What are you assholes doing? And they forget.
There's a shirt right there. Stop fucking the cows. We're going to eat them.
Welcome to Man in the Arena. Stop fucking the cows. We're trying to eat them. So this process in the middle has been heavy because I have been focused on, for over a decade, trying to figure out the science of what it requires a man to stay awake and to weaponize himself.
Yes.
Because men should not be operating at any less vibrational intensity that you and I operate with.
Exactly.
The hard part is, and you brought up accountability, which is wild because forever we sold accountability. We said, come to the group, we're going to hold you accountable. Join this program. We're going to hold you accountable. Come to the arena tour, then join us on the journey afterwards, and we'll hold you accountable. And then I came to this harsh truth about 5-6 years ago, after doing this with 70,000 dudes. You can't hold a man accountable who doesn't want to be accountable.
He has to hold himself accountable. You got to be the example.
Well, you and I become the two big words you use throughout Scripture: awaken and remember.
Yeah.
We're reminders.
Yeah.
Guides, not gurus. Greg's not a guru. I'm not a fucking guru. Stop looking at me like I'm your guru. I'm not your guru.
No.
I hold a mirror up. In the arena, we're going to create a box of mirrors with the intensity of the men being there. And that intensity inside the arena, because of the association of the tribes coming together.
Yeah, that's
the
good.
already active accountability in hundreds and hundreds of very powerful men in the group of thousands.
Yeah.
These men operate as a mirror with God to hold men in a place of power, of truth, so that they can activate accountability that is found inside the kingdom inside them.
Yep.
And when that accountability activates, what a man's activating is remembrance of who he is and remembrance of whose he is.
Yes, that's good.
And when he remembers this and looks around at his life, he looks down at his fat body. He looks at his disconnected marriage. He looks at his guilt and shame about not spending time with his kids. He looks at the business that's not operating the way it's supposed to. And then this awakened state of accountability, dominion is activated again in this man.
Amen.
Remembering God gave him the power to create in this place. Yes. And when he looks at what he's created unconsciously, he's faced with the dilemma. Die and leave Egypt and leave your shit.
Yeah.
Leave your shit in Egypt, pack up what you can in your backpack, grab your wife and children, and do just as Abraham was commanded. Yeah. Leave your country.
Yeah.
Leave what you've created. And this is very, very difficult, if not impossible, for a man to do alone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amen.
What have you found in your groups with the power of association? Because again, you've been running tons of events. I run tons of events. We run events every week, virtual events, hybrid events, in-person events. Every month we have 4 or 5 events happening. At any given time, my trainers are running them, or I'm running them, or we're all running them together. What power have you found as men gather? What is available in your experience for these men as they gather that they cannot find alone at home? And specifically, though, when they gather in physical proximity versus.
You know, this actually just happened right before I met you. So I had 2 hernias, which essentially is your intestines coming out of your lower abdomen, inguinal hernias. And so I was like, man, something is really wrong, because I was working out in Vegas with Dave Johnson, working out with him, and I'm in my mind, I don't care who you are. You could be Jay Cutler, you could be the Mr. Olympia, you could be like, I don't care who you are. If we're going to be in the gym together, I am going to try to outwork you. I am going to try to make sure, and it's not from a weight standpoint, it's an intensity thing, because there's bigger and smaller people. But if I'm involved in the workout, I want to be an engine. I want you to look at me and go, shit, I didn't know that there was that level that existed. I didn't know that there was another gear. And so I get back from Las Vegas, immediately go to Alpine Surgical here in Boulder, and they're like, we need to get you into surgery right now. This was a Thursday. We need to go to surgery right now. These are bad. And I said, I can't do surgery right now. I've got a 3-month-old. I've got this, that, and the other. I could probably do it, next week sometime. And they said, well, the doctor's back in on Tuesday. Can you do it on Tuesday? I said, yeah, Tuesday sounds great. That's fine. And then they said, just under no circumstance, I don't want you lifting more than 50 pounds. I don't want you doing anything. Well, the real reason wasn't that I just had a three-month-old. It's I had one of my men's retreats that was happening that weekend, and I wasn't going to cancel on my guys. And I took them to Colorado Springs, and in an incredible facility that had a built-in gym and all these things. Not one person outlifted me. Yes, with my intestines spilling out, and in between sets, I had to push my intestines back in. Not one person outlifted me. We did the Manitou incline, which is, 3,000 or 4,000 feet of just straight up where you go above the clouds. I hiked that. I was the standard. And I removed all of their excuses because not only am I older than a lot of these guys, everyone knew that I was going into surgery. So everyone who was just like, I can't do another rep, but they'd see me push another rep, and I take them through this thing called the gauntlet. We take them through all of these things, and then we get steaks. We cook together. We pray together. We do push-ups when we get there to calibrate together. We break people into teams. We do all these things. But leadership is all about setting a standard, but that means the eyes are on you. And the biggest thing is I want people to say, okay, cool, that's what the standard looks like. I'm going to take that back to my life and my family and my cousin and my brother and my son and my best friend and my best friend's friend to go, that's what it looks like. Most men are a different man based on who's around them. I don't like chameleons. Or they're a different man based on Tuesday versus Wednesday, nighttime versus, they just woke up. My biggest thing is, and I know you could, like, obviously neither one of us are going to name names, but we know that this is very, very prevalent. Most of the people who stand on stage, you go talk to that person behind the curtain, those are two different people. They stand on stage and they're a character. They're just playing a character, and they're trying to suck the money out of the room. They're trying to just do whatever is best for them. They are not an example. And I think that this is the big thing. When real men get around other men, like you said, you're not actually like, I don't have to go hold Garrett accountable. He's going to be him. I'm going to be me. And we don't have to interface at a level of, are you going to do what you say you're going to do? No, that's just who we are. That's how we align. That's one of the alignment pieces that we have. So when you have men where they can see the standard of accountability to yourself, they become accountable to themselves. And there has to be this calibration process that happens. The more tribes that you can get together where you're seeing this prevalent, the more leaders that you can develop, because a real measure of a leader is how many leaders are you making, not how many followers do you have. And that's the biggest thing, is if we're going to enter the arena, we're going to help men enter the arena, we're going to calibrate people on what the arena looks like. We want to help you be a leader in your life, in your business, in your marriage, in your mind, in your heart. One of the things I tell people all the time, I'm going to teach you how to think with your heart and feel with your mind. Most people, they just feel with their heart, which is going to get you to do stupid stuff because it's all passion and it's high emotion, low intelligence. Or they're just going to outthink themselves. They're going to go into analysis paralysis and they're never going to move forward. So we actually need to feel with our mind and think with our heart. If we can adjust the philosophy that we approach with that, we can accomplish anything. But we have to have standards. We have to have morals. We have to have ethics and work ethic. And if you can do that and be disciplined, you can literally have anything that you want. But most people think that everything is a pill. And that's why in my transformation that I showed everybody, I put it on my Facebook. I said, this did not happen overnight. It was 3 years of basically killing myself every day, of giving up the ice cream, of giving up the fried food, of giving up these things, and then working out no matter, literally, when I say no matter what, like if I just get in on a plane and I haven't worked out that day and I'm landing at 2:00 in the morning in Atlanta, I'm going straight to the hotel gym. I get my key. I don't go to my room first. I go to the hotel gym and I get it out of the way. You're either disciplined or you're not. You either have standards or you don't. This is not a malleable thing. It's not a moving target. And men have got to wake up and they have to realize and recognize that if you cannot clearly identify your standards, you have none. And that's the biggest thing, is if you can get around people who say, these are my standards, and you can say, oh man, like me, now I know hanging out with Garrett, he's going to have standards where I'm like, oh, that's badass. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put it over on my bookshelf of standards. Now it's just one of mine. I don't need to tell him that I'm going to do that. It's just he was a great example. I'm going to borrow that because I want to go up to I didn't know that there was this next level, but because I have someone who is standard driven, who has been there before, and I know what the output is from the input. That's another thing that men just don't get. Everyone wants the output. If you want the output, you have to control the inputs. It's just like your body, what you put into your mouth. Okay, what are you putting into your eyes? What do you put into your ears? What are you putting into your ears and then thinking about? Like, there's so many people who will listen to people and then they're like, you know what? I'm just going to think about that for a while. Why? If someone tells you something dumb, let it be dumb and just go out the other ear. But if you want the right outputs, you have to control the inputs. So if you're a man that's struggling, you have to get into the arena. You have to go to this tour, because if you're looking for that conversation, I say you're one conversation away from changing your life. But are you willing to have the conversation? That's step one, if you're willing to have the conversation. But if you're willing to have the conversation, you have to go, like you said, you have to move to a place where those conversations are actually happening. That's what the Man in the Arena tour is all about. You're not going to go to the water cooler conversation or the bar and have these conversations. If you really want change, you have to move and you have to get around people who are having a different conversation. So if you're really ready for the conversation, you have to move. You got to get to Salt Lake. You have to be willing to move. But is it going to be comfortable? No, it's not supposed to be. You wanting comfort is why you are in this position right now. Like Garrett and I, like for anyone listening to this, I promise you the reason we are who we are is right when we get comfortable, we figure out how to get uncomfortable as fast as possible. Oh, I'm too comfortable. I don't like that thought. Comfort, like right when comfort enters my mind, I'm like, how do I get that shit out of my head as fast as possible? That means there's another level and I've stayed here for too long. Let's go. I'm ready.
This drive is access to association.
Yep.
Right? People heard the idea of proximity is power. And this has been a conversation that everyone listens. You've all heard this statement. Mm-hmm. Proximity is power, proximity is power, proximity is power. Cool. The problem is most of you run with men who don't have standards. Most of you run with people who actually, and the worst trap is to be what I call king of the shitheads. Because you have become the standard to your group, but the group that you're playing with is weak as fuck.
Yeah.
You are the richest guy that you know, and yet you're dealing with a bunch of people, Bobby Bud Lights, that work at the Circle K. And
Bobby Bud Lights.
because you work as a roughneck and you make $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year working on the oil rig, and you've been gone from your family 6 months out of the year, but because you make more money than everybody else, you know, all of a sudden you become the guy. Then you put yourself into a room where guys make that on a monthly basis, and they're home every night with their kids, and they're off on the weekends with their wife, and they're taking trips with their wife, and they're making literally 10, 20, 30 times more than you.
Yeah.
And they're not putting their lives at risk physically every single day. And you're like, holy shit, maybe I am king of the shitheads. Maybe I should take that Bud Light can crown off my head and stop claiming that I'm the guy. Because I've been the guy in this place. But when you come to an arena event, you are surrounded by all kinds of people. Yeah. Every guy in there that thinks he's the standard is going to be exposed to a new level of the standard from another man he didn't know from another tribe.
Yes.
Physical standards, marriage standards, God-driven standards, money-driven standards, how you run your business standards. And all that comes back to me, which is why I put myself in the world of billionaires right now.
Yeah.
Because I want to be around billionaires and see how they think, because they make my problems look very fucking small.
Yeah.
So what appears to me to be big, and when my students are guys I run with and people look at my problems, like, I don't understand how you're doing it, and I'm looking at their problems going, those are easy problems, just do this. Now I have to keep putting myself in places where other people's standards and what they've created are so much bigger than what I've created. Yes. That it gives me the opportunity to be a student again.
Yes.
It gives me opportunity to come back to the bottom as a feeling and go, man, like people look at our home right now and where we are. And my wife and I both feel like, even though the home is beautiful, even though where we live is beautiful, it's amazing here in Florida. To us, we feel like we took a step down to step up. And people are like, that's impossible. You live in a $29 million house. How's that a step down? No, the home we came from in California was a better home. But we knew coming here, we were supposed to come here. So there was a game, and people see this like, this doesn't make any sense. And we said, we don't understand. We're not pursuing the okay life.
Yeah.
We don't run off of a standard of someone else. I use other people's standards as inspiration. But
Yeah.
the greatest leveling up of the standard has to be saying, here's where I'm at. And it might be new.
Yeah.
It's like a physical body. You look like this the last 3 years you got here, right? The last 2 years, I put on 40 pounds of muscle. Like people are like, that's fucking impossible. It's like, dude, I was a 190-pound surfer and I decided I wanted to be big.
Yeah.
And so for 2 years straight, I've trained my ass off and now I'm 230. And I'm,
Yeah.
well, guess what? The more you become aware of your body, the more you recognize how much further you can take it. And the more aware you become of how unaware you used to be.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
So everything you create, this is why it doesn't matter how much money guy makes. It doesn't matter how much sex he's having. It doesn't matter all these things. No matter what level you're at, that newness gets old and becomes normal.
Yes.
And that normal becomes numb.
Yes.
So people are like, why you put the arena event on? Well, God told me to unify the kings. The third thing he told me to do, start the soul war.
Yeah.
Because right now we have kingdoms operating in the soul war, independent with no communication with each other. They're not sharing anything. They're not swapping weapons. There are weapons we've used at Warrior here for 13 years that can help Gamma.
Yes.
There are
100%.
weapons that Gamma is using that can help Warrior. And there's weapons that Lions Not Sheep is using, and I am a comeback, and the edge, and the standard, and pivot, and unchained. There are weapons these kingdoms are using, but no one's collaborating with the weapons. So, although those kingdoms are amazing, the empire of God is not expanding.
Exactly. Yeah, it's too
So,
isolated.
this for me was a unification event. This
Yeah.
is not just, so I said, if I wanted to just do a Garrett show and I wanted to put on a Garrett tour, well, it'd be real easy. I'd go hire David Goggins. I'd go hire Deion Sanders. I'd go hire Tim Grover. And it
Yeah.
would be me and those three. And we'd run ads. And interestingly enough, it would be easier to fill an event.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because to collaborate with other kings and to do what we are pulling off right now requires men who unify around a higher cause than the banner and the logo and the brand of what they've built.
Yeah.
Which is why I told you earlier that we're finding out real quick who our guys are that are kingdom guys, not kingdom in their kingdom, who are kingdom guys.
Yeah.
We're guys that are willing to say, hey, for a day, guess what? We're not Warrior. We're not Gamma. We're not I'm a Comeback. We're not Unchained. We're not Superhuman Fathers. We are men in the arena.
Yeah.
Men in the arena, all of us fighting under God's power to create a better place for our families, a better place for ourselves, and to do ultimately the greatest request God gave us.
Yeah.
I put you here with Dominion to bring kingdom of heaven to earth.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things about the vision, what you've got going on, is to pull this off. You have to get, because I think that one of the traits of an ultimate man is to really kill your insecurity. And if you're going to take your tribe and you're going to put it in front of another person's tribe, if you are not the leader that you say you are, if you are not the leader, you're going to go, oh, but what if they take all my people? Well, then it was time to get into a new room, motherfucker. Like, it just is what it is. So the fact that all these people are saying, yeah, I'm going to bring not just any, like the men that I have in my life, but I'm going to bring all my top guys and we're going to support each other. You can find the people who are going to fall off are the insecure people, are the people who talk a really good game, but they stand next to somebody who is the good game, who is the output from their inputs. And they're going to go, this makes me uncomfortable. Well, it should. Like, I want to walk into the room and I want people to get really, really uncomfortable that I'm there. I want every leader that I've helped in Gamma, like I'll out him just because he's one of my favorite people that we have. His name's Bernard Quisenbing. He's coming to Man in the Arena. He's super excited. And he tells me, because he's becoming a really good speaker. I'm so proud of this man. He's crushing it in his fitness. His marriage is going through the roof. Like he's really doing the work. I'm so proud of him. He was at a speech because we have these local masterminds for anyone who can't afford the one that I'm running. So we have these local masterminds. I walked in to support his mastermind. Right when I walked in, started fumbling over his words, and he's this, and he's this. He came over to me after. He goes, "Dude, I was doing so good, and then you walked in." He's like I'm not used to being nervous. Like what the heck? And I said, "That's because you respect me, which I appreciate, and that's because you want to do a good job, a great job, and that's because you want to live at this level. So you know what I bring to the table when I'm speaking. You know what I bring to the table when I'm setting the temperature of a room. So immediately when I walked in, you felt the whole temperature come in because my energy is going to do that. And so you feel that. And like he just gave me a big hug and he's just like, I'm a thermostat, not a thermometer. The next time I saw him on stage, he lit the stage on fire like there was no tomorrow. And when he got off stage, he came over to me, gave me a hug, and he goes, thermostat, motherfucker. That's what I'm talking about. Because I'm not insecure that he's gonna become a better speaker than me. And honestly, if I helped him be a speaker and he becomes better than me, awesome. I did my job. But he's also not trying to outshine me or do anything. He wants to make me proud and he wants to set the tone for the room and he wants to do his job and he wants to do it at the best of his ability. He wants to keep raising because we have a standard. But there's no insecurity. And I think men, especially with all of the crazy stuff that happens in the news and in movies these days, it's like we're like trying to make men more insecure. And so when you get men in the arena, especially men in the arena tour, all these tribes, all these people who lead people, they can get really insecure because it's like, oh, I don't know if I don't want to bring all my people in front of Garrett. They're going to join Garrett. Well, then as a leader, you probably should tell them to do that because you can't lead them anymore. Like I told everyone, I said, if you're a part of our men's group, you're there. And I need you. Like I was on stage at our last event. I was interviewing our good friend Dan Fleischman, who's putting on the tour with you. And I told because he's like, if anyone wants to help this out, just if you're a man, bring two people to men in the arena. Like let's really help men. And I said, fuck that. Everyone, because my number is 33. It's $33,000 to join my mastermind. And the reason why it's 33 is because that's how old Jesus was when he died. So that's how ingrained all of the fabric of faith is in my business. And I looked at everyone. I said, no, you guys are going to refer 33 people a piece. That's our mandate. And if you only get, 3 people or 10 people, 12 people, and some of you get 33 people, awesome. But our number needs to be 33. Our number needs to be as many people as we can help be a warrior for their family, be a weapon for the catalyst of change so that men can, again, so that they can wake up. Because we've been sleeping. We fell asleep starting in 2008. Like the manhood just started falling asleep. And now it's you want to talk about an alarm clock where I guarantee you, Garrett and Dan and Greg, we are not going to allow you to press the snooze clock on your life anymore. We are uninstalling the snooze button from your soul. That's what we're doing. There's no more snooze button. We're not allowing that bullshit. And also stop fucking cows. I can't get that out of my head.
We're gonna have it on a huge banner on the front side. Don't fuck the cows, we're eating them. Don't fuck the cows, we're eating them. Well, this admits this too. Like there's a process that is filled with so much joy for a man.
Yeah.
A joy that guys can't understand until you've had an experience in it, right? Like when you have an event like Man in Arena, what you're putting on is a pivot event.
Yes.
Right. This pivoting experience is a moment of decision. It's when the thermometer in your head becomes flipped. And what you have been okay with at a certain temperature, it flips. Yeah. And it's a game where you're no longer willing to tolerate. And every man hits this place. We call this in Warrior the pit, where you hit a place where you recognize I am stuck. I acknowledge that I'm stuck, or I acknowledge that where I'm at is no longer sufficient for where I know I get to be next. Yeah. And the minute that decision happens, it's a decision. It's not a process. It's a decision. Even if you're in a process, there's a moment where the mind makes a new decision.
Yep.
And once you've made that decision, the trajectory of your life transforms forever, right? Greg made the decision 3 years ago to pivot his body.
Yep.
Pivot. Nothing is ever going to be the same again, because now that he's going this direction, there's no possible way to go back to the old container
Oh no.
with the new commitment. And so as you come into the arena, we've watched this happen for 13 years. When men gather in rooms, it's not just the value of being in that room of proximity. It's not just the conversations. It's not just the associations. It's not all of those things alone. Those are a part of it. But it's the moment that's going to come for many of you that isn't even going to come from when someone's sharing from stage. It's going to come from a conversation that we're compelling you to have with the man next to you.
Yes.
God's going to reach into you with some guy who's going to take a piss with you at the same time. You end up washing your hands, you're standing out in the hallway, and we're on a break, and he's going to say something to you based on what's happened in the first 4 hours of the day, and or you're going to be at lunch, or you're going to be sitting in a breakout during the arena event, and this man's going to say something, and that thing he says is going to be the final straw that breaks the camel's back on your limit. And you're going to watch this warehouse door open up, and your mind will see and conceive. No different than what Jesus was talking about in the parable of the sower. In Matthew 13, it's like, listen, eyes to see, ears to hear ye the parable of the sower. And he explains what he had just taught the people. Because the apostles were confused. Why always telling these parables? Why always telling these weird stories? We know you're a carpenter. Now you're talking about farming. I don't understand.
Yeah.
And our audience, people have these moments. We have guys that have sat in rooms with us who have businesses that are failing, and they have marriages that are imploding. And there's a moment sitting in the audience by themselves, and many people may not even know it's happened to them, but there's a switch.
Yep.
We've had guys come to events with us at our WarriorCon events where we have thousands of guys who are literally sitting at death's door in suicide. We had a guy who was going to not come back to the event. He was there for the first day. It was a multiple day event. He was not going to come back. He literally had plans to go kill himself that night.
Oh, goodness.
In our room, came and said, this is my final shot. If I don't get the switch to flip here at this event, I'm fucking done. Had the Glock in his bedroom, in his hotel room, came to the event, and it was a conversation with another guy in the room. And God flows into this man, shatters his reality. He ends up telling everybody about this on stage the next day. He has pictures of the guy was going to kill himself in his hotel room. And we're like, and we've had suicides that were over the years. We've had the guys who've been found by their children and their wives bloody in the garage. We've watched these things go down. This is not a conversation of motivation. For many of the men who are coming to the arena, this isn't just a chain-breaking shift. It is a function of life or death. And yes, maybe you're not going to kill yourself, but what's worse, and people say they can't possibly be worse. No. What's worse is you spending the next 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years being awake, but not living.
Yeah.
Being here in this place, but enduring to the end, living a survival life, dreading every day, where the most exciting thing you have to look forward to is going to sleep.
Yeah.
That was one of our guys who's working out this morning. He's this young man, 29. He was telling me his story. We get a bunch of young dudes come train with us in the morning. They just show up. And he's like, man, I was last year, a horrible relationship with this girl. Been in it for 3 years. I'd lost myself. I couldn't see any other way out. Had dealt drugs for like most of his childhood from like 12, 13 on. And he's sitting there sharing with me. He's like, it was the content that you were sharing that it sparked something in me. It sparked something in me. And I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked at my life. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? He's like, I was so suicidal. I was planning it out every single day for a week straight. And so, Bill, why do you share your stories on social media? Why do you post on social media? Why do you put the message out? Why do you sell the books? Why do you do all the marketing? Because we know reaching. Why are you pushing so hard to get men to the arena? Because we know there are a percentage of men, this is a life or death decision.
100%. And I think that, just goes to show that a lot of people are focusing on the wrong thing. Why would I come? Like, I'll just, if you're listening to this podcast, you're like, why would I come to the Man in the Arena tour? Sounds like I love like just a little side quest. I posted the Man in the Arena tour. I had this, you know, person go toxic masculinity and blah 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 blah, and these are the neo Nazis and this that and the other. Here's how you know that you're in the right community, because my community, I didn't have to say anything. My community, including our Kappa Club, which is our women's group for that coincides with Gamma Group, they jumped in and helped this guy understand who we really were and what we are really about. And he messaged me directly and apologized to me. And he's like, I jumped to conclusions. I had no idea. I said, this is part of what's wrong with America is you think men standing up for anything is whatever you're going to invent. And I'm telling you right now that if you're in there and you're like, this seems like it's toxic masculinity. This seems like it's, just a bunch of, bro beating their chest. This seems just, I'm going to tell you right now for anybody listening to this is about finding your foxhole people. Men who are alone, it is such a solitary, lonely, crazy existence. This is about having someone who says, look, brother, I've got your back and you're not alone. And the more of those people you have in your life, I'm telling you right now, you are going to change your life. Like the fact that I can call Dan Fleischman and say, hey, bro, I need you to have your back. And he's not going to, I need you to have my back. He's not going to ask me, what are we doing? He's going to say, how soon do you need me? If I call Garrett and I say, hey, bro, I need you to have my back. I'm on my way. Do I need my Bible or my baseball bat or both? Which is it, bro? I got you. The big thing that people don't understand is they see people who care about their fitness and they just want to make terrible, evil shit up. And people need to listen to me when I say this. This is not difficult. A lot of you guys, oh, it's too difficult to get the body. No, people don't understand that 3 years ago when I made the decision, that's when I had the body. I had the body 3 years ago because that's when the decision happened. I was never going back from that moment. It's not 3 years later, oh, look at what I look like now. No. The magic happened in the decision. And then I had a bunch of brothers and I had a bunch of people. I had my wife have my back who knew that I don't eat donuts anymore. I don't eat ice cream anymore. And they had my back on my journey. So if you're coming to the Man in the Arena and you get those people who go, oh, they're going to talk about God. Hell yeah, we're going to talk about God. You want to know why? He changed my life. And if you're like, yeah, but that's not for me. Here's what I'm telling you. Come for the men, come for this, but just leave your door open, your heart open for the faith. Because here's the big thing that I don't think people really understand how hard it is to put one of these events on. We're talking about millions of dollars with literally, it's damn sure not guaranteed. If Garrett breaks even on this thing, I am going to be astonished because he cares about your soul a hell of a lot more than he cares about the money. The big thing is Garrett operates in faith. He's saying, I got this calling. I got to do Man in the Arena. I've got to unify the kings. We have got to squash the insecure bullshit, and we've got to help men. Come see what a bunch of men that operate on the same team out of the same playbook can look like, because that's what your bowling league can look like. I just take like literally the least masculine thing I can think of. Sorry for anybody who's like, I love bowling, but you can have this same brotherhood. You can say, I've got my teammates back. If it's your golf partners where you're taking golf trips, you can have their back. You can show them what a man looks like. One of the big things that I did is I had to say, you know what, I got to get proximity is power. A lot of people say this. So I went and joined a country club with literally the last dollars that I had, because I'm like, I need to get around people who are movers and shakers. I have to get around the people with the money. But the problem is I had one guy stand up and say, because I thought I was a pretty cool guy. Like everyone wanted to hang out with Greg, but I didn't get invited to the really cool golf trips. I didn't get invited to Vegas. I didn't get invited to Bandon Dunes. Half these people have their own jet, and I'm not getting invited on the jet. And so one time in the middle of the men's card room, I kind of went off on a tangent. I'm just like, how come this? And someone said, Greg, you're just a little bit too much of a Boy Scout. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, one of the things that you said one time is that if you ever cheat on your wife, you better not invite me around because I will never do business with you. I don't want to be a friend. In fact, you can fuck right off. He goes, you said that in front of everyone. And we all thought you were drunk. Then we realized how often you say this, that you're damn sure serious about it. And I said, well, that makes sense. It was at that moment that I realized that I'm not like everyone else because I'm not invited on the boys' trips because they know I'm going to get pissed. I'm probably going to end up beating their ass because they're cheating on their wives. They know that I'm not going to go be that person. I'm not going to be a part of those things because I want to always honor my wife. I always want to be the man in the arena of my marriage where I'm honoring what's going on. And so I get called Captain America. I get called a Boy Scout. I get called all of these things. And it's this thing is we're meant to do business together. We're meant to be kings together. We're meant to be men together. But if you'll cheat on your wife, I know you'll cheat on me in business. So if I watch you go do all this other stuff with someone else that's not your wife, I know at a moment's notice you're opportunistic. You are not loyal. You're going to cheat on me. If we have a business dealing, you're going to go, well, yeah, it's just Greg. If you'll cheat on me, if you'll cheat on your wife, you'll cheat on me if we have a business dealing. So why would I want to hang out with people like that? And I've made that very known. So yeah, I don't get invited to the boys' trips at the country club. I don't get on the private jets because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I just don't subscribe to that because I have standards. I have morals. And more people need to get around that. And I've had people since I've been a part of this country club for almost 8 years now. I've had people come up to me and say, because of the standard you set and because of how you treat your wife, you didn't know this, but you saved my marriage because I stopped that bullshit. I don't do that anymore. I won't go to the trips anymore. I'll get invited and I'll turn it down because I think about what you said and I watch you operate in your family. So I'm an example and and now those men are no longer a warning. So if you're on the fence about whether or not you should get in the arena, I'm telling you, stop surviving and start thriving because that's what this is all about. Seeing an example of what it can look like to bring the passion back into your marriage, into your life, getting excited about the mirror, getting excited about your business, getting excited about your kids. And I think that people, if they can just, like you said, move, and newsflash, when Moses said, hey guys, I'm gonna help you out of slavery and persecution and all this, that started 40 years of crap. So that wasn't that it didn't start then. That was the beginning. So once you're awake, you're gonna have to do some work. You're gonna have to keep it going. And you're going to need, like Garrett said, it's damn near impossible to do it alone. Especially, guys, stuff tethers. The more shit you think you need to own and keeping up with the Joneses and cars and this, that, and the other, it tethers you to make moving less possible. So if you're like, I need the big house, like Garrett just said, he got rid of a $24-25 million house and he had to move across the country, like literally the opposite end of the country. So he had to go through his own parting of the Red Sea. Like, are you willing to let go of the house or the car or the payment or the thought or the this, that, and the other so that you are willing to finally get into the arena? I think this is what people need to understand. The one thing before we close up, there is a mastermind before the event at Keaton's house. Help me understand that. Help me understand why that's important, the higher level thinking, how much it costs, different things like that, so that the people who are willing to make the investment in themselves to compress the decades into days and that's how you do this. It's always access, priority, service. A lot of these men out there are saying, oh, well, I want the service. What's the transaction? No. You want access and you want the highest level access that you can possibly get so that you can get priority with Garrett, priority with Keaton, priority with the trainers. And then when you have priority with the right access, we can figure out what service actually serves you. So if they want that level of access, which I can honestly tell you, these rooms changed my life. The masterminds changed my life. Going to the access of the country club, hanging out with Dan, yourself, all these things, these are what changed my life. Help me understand that experience and what you're kind of curating and putting together.
So the night before the actual arena event, there is a VIP mastermind event happening. Some people used to go into parties. We don't do parties. So it's not that we're not going to have some socializing and there'll be some music and some drinks and hanging out. That's fine. That's going to happen after roughly 4 hours of work. And that work itself is about getting the most elite men that are coming to the arena and a chance to meet each other before we start. Some of the top guys from each one of the tribes getting to interact and mingle. You're going to be in a specific process. So this is not just a free flow, walk around at cocktail tables and talk to guys. We specifically designed this using the protocols we've done at Warrior for the last 13 years to assure that you get to meet everybody that's there, that everybody that's there, not only do you meet them, but that you get to have real and deep conversation with them. On top of this, you're also going to get to hear from each one of a handful select of the speakers who have brought their tribes too, and a chance for them to speak to the top guys in all these groups. I'll have at the party that night, roughly 40 of my guys, 45 of my guys will be there. And I want them to hear from Greg. I want them to hear from other guys. I want them to be around other men because at times, as much as I love them, they need a different keynote, meaning they need somebody to hit a different fucking key on the piano for them because they're saying, there's Greg saying the same shit I'm saying, but he's saying it from a different tune and they're going to get it. Oh, good. Finally. Hey, coach, you're never going to believe it. I was in breakout table with Greg and he said this. I'm like, yeah, I've been telling that shit for like 4 years, bro. So I appreciate that you finally heard it. I love that you heard it.
I always say no one believes the prophet in their backyard.
Yeah. Well, this game, so the game of networking that night's going to be big. You're going to interact. You're going to leave with at least 10, 15, 20 different relationships you didn't even know existed. And the coolest part is that group itself, as they meet that night, those guys, most all of them are sitting in the front sections together at the event during the arena. So you're going to get a chance now to continue to network and be there. So instead of coming into the arena event, you don't know who anybody is in these tribes, the top guys. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they're about. You don't know their businesses. Now you're going to enter into the arena event having already got that conversation handled. Now you're going to see familiar faces when you walk in during the event. So when we're doing our collaborative experiences throughout the arena day, you're already in communication and dialogue with guys from the night before so that the experience just goes deeper. This is why it's not necessary for everyone. It's why there's a price point on it. I think it's around like $5,000. If you go to manhood you can check that out, have a conversation with one of the team and get you signed up for that. But that piece, that's where I'm looking for. I mean, there's events that I've gone to, I have not gone to because all priority and VIP access and all the stuff was like already taken. I was like, I'm not a $195 seat guy.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going, I want to be the reason I want to buy proximity to the people who I can respect at the highest level. Yes. Not that I have a problem with everybody. I have no problem. But if I'm going to come put time in and I'm at a high level as a man, I got to be around dudes that when I'm talking to them, they're at my level.
Yeah, that same frequency. Exactly right.
So the problems we face are similar. The frustrations. It's like if you take somebody that doesn't have any employees and they run a company like by themselves with a backpack. That guy's a very different dude to talk to than talking with a guy who has 137 employees, did 65 million revenue last year, has a wife and kids. His stress levels are radically different. It's not that these two men can't connect on truth and the principles of the kingdom and awakening and empowerment as men. They can.
Yes.
But there is a certain level of conversation that can only be had.
Yes.
Because this guy over here with the 160 employees has a listening in the back of his mind, which is this guy I might not even hire this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus now we're in place. This is why Greg and I get along so well because we both run the same industry. We both had success in the same industry. So a lot of the challenges he's faced, the weight that he's faced, the stress that he's faced, I've gone through it too. And I went through it for 7 years before he started.
Yeah.
So there's an understanding in it. And I've had this happen with almost all the movement guys too that are being part of this. Where they'll share things and I'm like, yeah, dude, I went through that in 17 and 18 and 19. I had that exact experience. Here's how we adjusted it. Here's what we had to do to figure it out. So it's why even in your group, you have your highest level group, and then you've got your smaller mastermind groups that
Yep.
are separate because of just relevance and respect between
And
the guys.
you want to keep the people at that right level engaged. It's kind of like, you're not going to have you're not going to go to, a college doctorate program, a university doctorate program, and, have that teacher come down and teach third grade. It just doesn't make sense. It's a waste of resources. So I think that's a good thing. And, I'm telling you, the Man in the Arena tour, I'm so excited about. I think it's needed and necessary. And then the other thing is, if you're on the fence about this bigger ticket item and you're going, oh my God, Greg, that's $5,000. Here's two things to think about on just, I want you guys to understand why it's actually maybe the most important thing to think about. Number one is having access to those kinds of conversations is going to make all the difference in the world. You are one conversation away from changing your whole life. But here's what Garrett's doing that's different. I just want to make sure everyone heard that. I think we've all, because there's a lot more introverts out there than extroverts. There's a lot of people who don't know how to network. There's a lot of people who get scared. And we just talked about this. Men right now are lost, they're lonely, and they're scared. So if that's you and you're going, look, I can't make a $5,000 investment and I'm scared, I don't know what I'm going to get out of it. Listen to what he just said. He says, I'm going to curate this. I'm going to move you through. I will help you network. Garrett is engineering this thing for you to get maximum value out of it. He just said he gets pissed off at oh, you just spent the $5,000 or $10,000 for the party. Here's the cocktail hour. Just go do you. And then you've got like 6 people who are the extroverts hogging all the conversation. That's annoying for everybody involved. He is going to make sure that as you move through this, and I love what he says, experience. Garrett is all about experience. In a world where we are in so much demand of AI, everyone's trying to like automate compassion. We're trying to automate the human experience, which is just never going to happen. In a world where we are all connected, now listen to me when I say this. If you're on the podcast, listen, you can write this down. In a world where we're all connected, nobody is actually connecting. In a world where we are all connected, we are not connecting. Garrett is forcing the connection point. Garrett is he's the unification of kings. He is forcing you to connect with other men who are actually going to have your back. You have spent, as a man, so many years looking over your shoulder, wondering who's going to get you. If you have 7,000 brothers that have your back for the first time in your life, you can use the windshield instead of the rear view mirror, because you don't have to worry who's back there, because you got 7,000 people who've got your back. You have to be connected and connecting to other men, which means you got to move, you got to take action. So if you're the introvert, if you're scared to network, it is a curated experience where you're going to move through and you are going to connect at a level that you actually probably didn't even know was possible. So I very much implore and encourage you to take a chance on yourself, put the ball in your hands so that you can finally score touchdowns for your own life, score the shot for your own life, and stop waiting on other people. It's going to require action and energy and effort and belief from you. And like I say, hope starts, faith finishes. So I hope you will be here. And I'm telling you, this man that we have on this podcast, he has faith enough to legitimately put his money where his mouth. He rented a fucking arena. That's how much he cares about you. So please show up and we can take care of everything else. If you can get your ass there, Garrett will show up in a way that is uncommon and rare that you have never seen before. He's curating the experience in the arena as well. You have to show up. We can take it from there, and we will equip you to be able to finally pick up your sword and shield inside of the arena and make sure that you are no longer just a critic in the stands. So, any closing remarks, my friend, my brother?
You wake up a man, and this man weaponizes himself. You wake up and weaponize a marriage.
Yes.
And as you do this, you weaponize a family. And weaponized families become the power couples, the power unit of cities, And these cities become the transformative force to states. The states become transformative forces to countries, and countries become the tipping point for the world.
Yes.
There's a rising happening in the United States right now. It is an opposing rising of power and light, in contrast to the darkness of woke culture.
Yeah.
This fierceness that's rising is happening in entrepreneurism. It's happening in politics. It's happening in the celebrity world. It's happening in Hollywood. As you're watching men lean into God at levels they have never done, men who were not in this conversation, men who have never been in this conversation, who now it's the primary conversation that they're having. I'm one of them in the last 3 years. So
Yes.
come, give yourself a chance, get into the arena. Pick up a ticket by going to manandarenatour.com. We have teams that can talk with you. That literally, I have my entire floor. The guys that we call them the gatekeepers of the arena, they are on the phone. They're on the phones for 10 to 11 hours every day, talking to guys, helping them get coordinated, even coordinating their hotel rooms, working through the game to make sure that you're in the right place at the right time, making sure this is a fit for you, making sure we understand what your situation is so that when you step in, you don't just find yourself as a hollow guy hiding in the corner and then you bounce out at the end of the event and nothing actually transforms. So I appreciate you having me on the podcast today, Greg. Excited to have you part of the tour. Excited to have you part of the event. Excited for your dudes and me, my dudes. Excited for the game to roll together and get to watch you blow some fire from stage.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for having the faith and trust in me. And we're excited, and we are honored to be a part of this. And for every one of you out there listening, I ask this all the time. 11 years ago, would you have invested in Amazon? Now, a lot of you would say, yes, I absolutely would have. And then I'm going to look at you and say, you're a fucking liar, because you were alive 11 years ago and you didn't invest in Amazon. This is one of those moments where you can come to the first event. You can come to the catalyst. You can come to the foundation being forged and made. You can come and get in the arena before it was the real arena that you're going to see in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That is a global phenomenon. So I'm telling you, the first one is unbelievably special. And this is that moment. So if you say, yeah, I totally would have invested in Amazon 11 years ago. Bullshit. Well, here's another Amazon moment, but now your life is on the line. So get in the arena, come hang out with myself, so many other men, and Garrett, and your life will never be the same, but you have to show up and we'll take it from there. So thank you so much, Garrett, for being on the Final Percent podcast. I love you, brother. This is just the beginning.